I'm between two meetings.
Hold on, I'm pulling up. I've got to get the PowerPoint up.
You need help doing that?
Uh-oh. Let's see.
Do you need to send it to me and I do it?
I just need to find it.
Oh, no, that's a different issue.
Where is it? Here. Oh. Okay. Phew. Relief. And are you, Janice, are you the host?
What? I don't know. Oh,
Are you letting people
I didn't
in?
think so. No, they're all coming in.
They're all coming in.
That's how I used to. I always had liked it,
Okay.
is that they can just come in on their own.
Okay.
That's the ideal, really,
Yeah.
for me.
I'm just
You can't show your thing?
just try share screen. Yeah, I can share my screen. Excellent.
Okay, yeah, because you see, I just clicked on the link that was there.
Okay. Look at this beautiful garden Buddha.
I know, Olivia.
That
So Olivia, will you come do that at my house?
I wish I could say I had done it.
Who did it?
It's wonderful. Hang on a sec. I didn't have my video on because I'm still eating some soup.
Okay.
There's a wonderful garden person over here in North Leverett who did it for me. So he does a lot of water gardens. I'm sure that he would be happy to do it for you. Hi, everyone.
I have a pretty good one right now, but you know.
You never know.
I know.
Hi, Jim.
No, I'm not. So, oh, I got a call from Bruce tonight.
Yeah.
I was looking for binoculars, something to do with, and then a couple of programs that he was curious about. But anyway.
Binoculars for what? I missed the last education committee meeting because I had a migraine.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if
That's a
they
good
took
reason to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said something about Don Kruzma and wanted to know if I was interested in having Don do a program. I was like,
we should maybe talk about this another time.
yeah, we will.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't
But-
I can check I'll look back on our old minutes too, because we had talked about various programs to investigate. So
Right.
We can talk about that.
Bruce is being Bruce.
Right. Click mute.
Janice, I think there are a couple more people who signed up. Um,
Hi, Irma.
Linda, Lisa. Well, should we go ahead and get started? I think we have most of the group. Janice?
I
There-
did want to let people know that the marsh at Arcadia is open now. And there are a lot of ducks there. So
Oh,
it's a good spot to go to if you're interested in ducks.
great. So let's talk briefly about our most recent DIY location, which was wherever you can find a good wooded area. And the target birds were some of our familiars, right? The titmouse, chickadee. Nuthatch,
And I
And
think downy woodpecker.
downy woodpecker, and I think the cardinal.
Golden crown kinglet.
Oh, the golden crown kinglet. That's right. That's
And
right.
she-
Thank
and
you.
she-
So where did people go? What did you see?
We went to multiple places that had woods. We saw the chickadee and the downy woodpecker. We heard the titmouse and nuthatch. That's it.
We wanted to see the golden crown kinglet, but didn't.
They're so adorable.
And we didn't see the brown creeper.
Oh, and the brown creeper. That one's a really hard one to find, I think. Yeah. Anyone else? Where else did people go?
I went to the Quabbin, and it was a forest in, I can't remember if it's Irving or the other one up there.
Hmm.
Sorry, I forget what it was called. Anyway, I didn't really have any luck there, and the only flock of birds I found were crows, which really didn't help. But that was in West Springfield. But I saw all the birds most of the birds in my backyard as well that I saw before. So
That's great. Yeah. Anyone else?
I also went to the Quabbin and saw nothing, but it's a nice walk.
It is so beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did anybody see a flock? I mean, a mixed flock? Or were they just sort of more one-off sightings? Yeah, Olivia, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
I mean, I went down where I live into the woods behind where I live in Leverett, and there was definitely after I just waited a while, because then I heard a chickadee, and then I began to see others, but I didn't ever really see a flock. I mean, I would say I saw a nuthatch, and I saw a bunch of chickadees, but I wouldn't call it a flock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went over to the path around Atkins Reservoir.
Hmm.
And I walked there a lot, mostly on the road in the winter because the woods are too icy. But I went into the woods with my crampons and not one bird. Now, maybe it was because it was 3 PM. I mean, I don't know, exactly how to time things sometimes, since I don't tend to have an early riser kind of life. So,
Well, a lot of those birds, though, you'll find that particular group of birds, you'll find at any time of day.
that's
So
what I would think.
sort of the
But
luck of the draw in some ways with that.
But I often feel those woods over by Atkins, does anyone else ever go there? Are
I did-
often, yeah, I don't see a lot of birds there. If I go down to where the dike is, in the spring, I've seen warblers up in those evergreens, and I've seen, I think I saw an owl one day along the road. I mean, so there's tons of birds there. It's just, and I hear them a lot in the warmer weather. But it's hard to spot them once the leaves are out.
Yeah, true. I had in our backyard, there are woods, so we usually get sort of chickadees and nuthatches and titmice as little groupings, whether you call, I don't know if they're enough to say it's a flock, but they
Right.
do. I've seen them, we saw them hang out together a lot. I was over at the Liberty Street Bridge, not really thinking about, is this a wooded area where I might be seeing something? I saw 2 golden crown kinglets and a bunch of titmice and chickadees, no brown creepers. But that was kind of a unexpected but very lucky sighting in that small, tiny little bit of woods there by the bridge in East Hampton.
East Hampton.
Yeah, Arcadia, I went to Arcadia a couple of times and one was today and didn't have kinglets or creepers, but had the other birds. And they did come through in kind of a flock of 3 or 4 titmice, a few chickadees, a couple of downies, and a couple of white-breasted nuthatches. So yeah, it's like, and I think the birds are getting a lot more active now.
Yeah, really active.
And noisy. They're actually calling a lot more.
Mhm.
But if you can get out before noon,
I
you
can
have a
do
little bit better chance. They just seem to be more active between, sunrise and noon. They're it's noisier. They're more active. So you don't have to get up at 5 a.m, but if you can get out before noon, that's good.
That seems doable.
I didn't want to rush your brunch.
Thank you, Jim. That's really kind of you. I actually could probably even get there by 9.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you'll
good.
see some. That's a good time.
I find that Quabbin can be a hard place to find birds. You can go and there's nothing, right? Or, somebody saw something there, but now I'm here an hour later and there's nothing, or I think I'm the same way, but another time. And I think that I don't think it's true that there aren't birds there, but they really move in that forest stuff. And, if you can wait, and if it's not freezing and you can wait, right, then you have a better chance.
Mm.
But I think otherwise you're moving past and you got to sort of wait for them to, they're not where you are, but they are there.
Right.
I saw a flock of gulls at the Quabbin that I couldn't identify because I had binoculars, but they were just too far out. So yeah, I had no idea what kind.
Can I stop for just a moment? Sorry to interrupt you. Someone has a radio or TV on in the background. Does it? Janice.
Wasn't me.
Would you be kind enough to mute it or do it? But yeah, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Linda. I just wanted to hear what you were saying. And that was just distracting for me. So
Yeah, so at the Quabbin, at least I saw those, and I've seen individual birds, which is, pretty much what happens to most of us. Lots of hawks, bluebirds, and tons of robins. So it was nice to see those. Just feels like spring, when you're not, the robins at least. Even though I know they're here all the time, but there were a lot of them. A lot, like you said, a lot of activity.
We saw some common mergansers at Quabbin
oh yeah.
Visitor Center.
Yep.
There was kind of a flock of them. There were a few males and a few females, and probably juveniles too, but we didn't know.
You know, those, go
Oh,
ahead.
good. No, I was just saying, I'm a very unreliable reporter, so don't get excited. But is it possible that I saw an Alcid, like a mure at Hickory Ridge the day after the storm? It was like something flew by and it looked like a flying penguin. All I could puffin, or it wasn't. I definitely wasn't a puffin. It was like black on top, white underneath. It didn't quite look like a duck. Like you, it didn't have any white on the wings,
Hmm.
but it went so fast. And there had been a storm, but
I want to say, Lisa, they had one in Athol, right? Acton? A mule landed there after a storm.
Huh.
I want to say since January.
okay.
And I was trying, I'll look up I found, it was in a newspaper. It was like bizarre. So I'm just saying, right? When you think it's not possible.
Right.
But it's you need a pretty good view of it and pretty good description of it.
I know it flew straight by, and
Yeah.
but just the shape of it was what
Mm,
brought
Mm.
to mind an Alcid. But
Yeah.
again, it seemed improbable. So
if it was recently, like within the last month or so, it could have easily been like a hooded merganser. And what they do is they keep their crest way down, so you don't see that when they're flying. They have short wings and chunky bodies.
Mhm.
That's a greater likelihood, but I
Yeah.
can't really say what you saw, but
Right.
because they're small, like chunky looking ducks when they fly.
Uh-huh.
But
Maybe.
and they're around. There are not a lot of them around, but
Yeah.
that's a greater possibility. But again, anything could fly by you. That's the problem.
It was a mure, a thick-billed mure found in Acton.
Uh,
Well, that's not really that close, but it's still close.
yeah. This was the day after the last storm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But
You never know.
You have a better chance of convincing people of that if you're closer to the coast.
right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But who knows?
You know,
Well,
it's-
shall,
Olivia has something to say.
Oh, can I just ask a question about the emails that have been coming in about snow buntings over by that church in Hadley? So I went there finally. I got there yesterday. But again, it was afternoon. Maybe they all go to bed early. Anyway, I didn't see any snow buntings. And I'm not familiar with them, so I wasn't quite sure. I looked up what they look like, but really wasn't, and what they sound like, but I wasn't. I just wonder if you had any pointers or if you know if they're still there.
I have not seen them for the past. I was the person who first reported them. It's a funny little place in that because they plow past the parking lot, which is asphalt, and then they plow the grass behind, maybe 40, 50 feet long, right? Horn larks and buntings and even a Lapland longspur I've seen go there, right? Because they can pick, it's actually grass and everywhere else is snow covered.
Oh.
And that's the draw, because they're not standing on ice, they're right on, they're on, lawn.
So they're
basically.
ground feeders. They're ground feeders?
Yeah.
Okay. So when
And-
you go back to the back, first I went up the wrong driveway, then I went up the left driveway, and I went to the back near the parking lot. But I was really looking more in the trees.
No,
There's a part of the grass, I think I saw where you mean that was plowed.
yeah. I mean,
clear.
there's the asphalt that was
Yeah.
plowed, and then it just is
Yeah.
dirt grass.
Uh-huh.
And when there's storms like we've had, and they go and they plow, and everything else is covered with this much snow,
Right.
it draws in, some horn larks
Oh.
and buntings. And so then I go like, oh, I should go check. And I went and I found 3 the first time.
Wow.
And then mostly horn larks, maybe 40, 50 horn larks.
Oh my gosh.
And they're very close to you. This is the other piece. You It's not like at the honey pot, and you're like, okay, there they go, going around and they land. But I mean, I drive up and then just park and they just are come right over and I've been able to tape them, the little calls.
Wow.
So there aren't that many snow buntings. Somebody saw 5 there. I never saw 5. I only saw 3. And one time I went by about 7:30 in the morning, they were there. An hour later, they were not there.
Got it.
But I don't think they're there now. Weather and everything.
Okay.
But it's a perfect spot, given that snow, they plow, everything
Right.
is covered. They're there.
Thanks for explaining that. Yeah.
Because I probably went 4 or 5 times, just because like, it's the best, you never get to see a snow bunting that close,
Mm.
that close. Well, I don't.
Okay, well, I thought we would move on to our next location, which is,
Brian's been quiet.
what's that?
Brian's quiet down there.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, this is my first time here, so I was just mostly listening to everyone.
So Brian, what we do, as you can probably gather, is we talk about what we've seen this past month and target birds and non-target birds. And then we're going to talk about the next location and target birds for the next location. So let's see, I need to, here we go. Oh, it'd be good if I clicked share, if I wanted to share, that would be good. All right, so I have to organize my screen a little bit so that you can see it well. And oops, where is the? What happened to the?
It
there's a
might be under, you're in the Google
bottom, and
Google
it's not-
slide as opposed to PowerPoint slide. Up here on the top next to share in orange, go to the far right. Go to the far right. It says slideshow.
Yeah,
Or
that's what I was looking for. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was covered up by all the beautiful faces of the people in the workshop, so I didn't see it. Okay, so, oh dear. There we go. Our new location is the Sweet Alice Conservation Area, which is part of the Kestrel Land Trust. And they've just been doing some work on their trails, and in particular this one. So I'll give you directions there, and then we'll look at a couple of maps. So it's fairly easy to get to from Northampton. You go over the bridge, take Bay Road to the Rotary at Atkins Farm. You go just 180 degrees around, and if you continue on Bay Road, it's right on your right. And you'll see there's just a little parking lot. You'll see there's a little trail map there in a box, very small parking area. And from Amherst, if you're coming down 116 towards Atkins Farm, you go 270 degrees around that rotary back onto Bay Road towards Belchertown. And again, it'll be on your right. So it's very easy to find. When you get to the parking lot, there's a trail map there. There are two, I'm going to just point out two trails. There are not a lot of trails there yet. So it's, each one is maybe about 2 miles long, I think, but they take you to different habitats, and you can really see lots of different birds there. And I just want to point out that you can, if you go to Trail Maps for Everyone, Kestrel Land Trust, if you Google that, you can also get the trail maps for there, as well as for other Kestrel Land Trust locations. So that's actually a great resource. I'm going to point out it will be muddy. That was probably not startlingly new information for anybody, but it will be muddy. So here you are. Let's see. Here are the two rotaries. So if you're coming from Amherst, here's the first rotary. Just go around to Bay Road. Oops. Let's see. And if you're coming from Northampton. Actually, you do go partly around this first rotary and then the second one. I didn't realize, I've forgotten that that it would take you to this one first. So you come from Northampton, go around that rotary, and then continue on Bay Road towards Belchertown. And here's where the parking lot is, just right off the side of the road. And this trail will take you, this little area here are a mixture of kind of low shrubs and trees. I think it used to be an orchard. Does anybody know? It looks like it was sort of an old orchard at some point. So some low trees and
It
shrubs.
was an orchard. It was Anderson's Orchard.
Oh, there we go. So great habitat there for birds that like to go from the trees to the ground. And you'll just continue along here. And if you bear to the right, that will take you to this split off, and you can go either way. By the time you get here, you're going into the woods. So this is all sort of open field. There's a power lines that go through here. So this is all cut down just for that swath of power lines. There are trees on the other side. So once you go in here, you're more into the woods, a woodland trail. There's a little brook that runs through there, and the path will take you on a little bridge over the brook. You come around, and then you can just loop around and go back, take a slightly different route back here, and then back to the parking lot. The other trail, again, here's the parking lot, and you will see this go sharply off to the right, and this will take you to Sweet Alice Pond. And this is a really nice loop trail. It takes you through the woods. Of course, it takes you right to around the pond, a little bit less near the open fields, which is habitat you may want to look at for a couple of the birds we're going to talk about. But this is a beautiful path, and I've been down here and seen bank swallows. Now it's a little early for that, but that they were just all over the place in here, which I didn't expect. So those are two trails at the Sweet Alice Conservation area. And our first bird is the common grackle, and everybody, of course, is fussing now because there are hordes of them everywhere, eating you out of house and home.
Right.
I look out the window and there are 30 grackles.
Right.
There's one like little chickadee hovering over on the fence, just waiting for them to go away. But they are quite beautiful birds if you look at them. So they are stocky, about the size of a robin. The bill is narrow here and conical. Oops, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I'm pressing the wrong things here. It has a long tail. Color, the males have this beautiful sort of iridescent head, and the iridescence sort of comes down onto the wings as well, a brownish back. I think they kind of look like they were just dipped into an oil slick. They seem to just shimmer. When I'm not mad at them, I think of them as quite beautiful birds. And they have a bright yellow eye, which is really striking. From the distance, of course, they look all black. And as you know, they travel a lot in large flocks. So the females, they have that same sort of slightly curved beak, the bright eye. They're a little bit lighter brown. This photograph looks very light. When I see the females in the flock, they still look kind of a dark brown, but it just may be the lighting here, and slightly darker wings. As you know, they gather in large flocks. They'll forage just about everywhere. And you will certainly see them in some of those open fields that I just described, where the old orchard was. They'll sit in the trees, they'll fly down, they'll forage on the ground. And you may see a large flock of black birds that is a mixed flock of grackles and red-winged blackbirds and starlings, and even brown-headed cowbirds as well. One of the interesting things I think about grackles is that they problem solve like crows. So there's a lot more to them than the pest. So this is this is the juvenile, but they do look a lot like the females. The females, I think, are a little bit darker. Behavior, habitat, you will find them in the trees. You'll find them in flocks of trees. They can go way up. So they're high canopy, mid canopy, and low, but also definitely in the fields. So as you're walking along that path from the parking lot, you'll definitely see grackles, and they make a kind of a croaking song. I don't know if you call it a song, but they croak, they kind of squeak. And then they sound a little bit like a door that needs WD-40. Kind of a rusty sound. Red-winged blackbird is the next bird, and also a very handsome bird. It is about 7, 8, 9 inches, roughly the size of a robin. You see this very distinctive patch on the wings. They're all black except for this distinctive patch on the males that often you'll see more red, and you see the red mostly in the spring. It's a display during breeding season that enables the males to sort of establish and defend their territories. And I found out that often several females will build nests in an area that's well defended by an alpha male. So there may be as many as 15 nesting females in an area that's sort of controlled by one male. In the spring or before breeding season and in the fall, you may see just the the yellow stripe at this part of the patch. You won't necessarily see all the red. The female, very beautiful bird. She's brown and white streaked with this kind of rusty, orangey streaking pattern in there. Also the sort of pointy conical bill. And there's usually a kind of a light colored stripe over her eye, over her supercilium. I find that I often see female red-winged blackbirds, and I cannot figure out what they are. I think this is some exotic bird. And then I realize when I take a look at the habitat and who else is flying around there, that in fact, it's a female red-winged blackbird. So the red-winged blackbirds, they perch on reeds and cattails. So you often see them near the water, but they also are in fields. And you can see them perched on the very top of a pine tree. So you'll see them again in this open fields as you walk along the pathway from the parking lot. And you again may see them in a large flock with other grackles and starlings as well, and red-winged blackbirds. They have a distinctive song. They like salt marshes in particular, both fresh and salt marshes. So you'll see them perched on a reed somewhere, and you hear the conkaree. And there's a sort of a high-pitched chick, chick, chick that you will hear as well. But I'm hearing them a lot. They're singing all over the place these days. So you may hear them all before you actually see them. Here, you can see here, this is a better view of that large red patch on the wing, and the female as well with her long tail and the white sort of eyebrow here. Brown-headed cowbirds. So you may often see them in a flock, usually only 1 or 2, but sometimes you see more in a flock of grackles, red-winged blackbirds, starlings. True to their name, of course, they have brown heads, and they have this sort of very kind of thick conical bill. They're a little bit smaller than a robin. So sometimes if you just see a flock of blackbirds on the ground, you can kind of tell who's who simply by size. And then the rest of the body is black. The females are typically almost all brown. They have the same shaped bill, and they're roughly about the same size as the males. They have a little bit of streaking on the belly sometimes, and of course they're lighter in color. You'll see them also foraging on the ground. They love bird feeders as well, and on the edge of the woods. But you also see 1 or 2 on the very, very top of a tree. They are, as you may know, brood parasites. which means that the females lay their eggs in the nests of other birds. And some of those other birds actually figure out this is an alien egg, and they will push the egg out, or they'll peck at it and break or puncture the egg. But some of the smaller birds either don't notice, or they just can't push the egg out, and they'll end up raising the baby cowbirds. And often to the detriment of their own brood. So again, you'll see these in the fields and the meadows along the edges of the woods. You will see them in the woods, usually as you're going through the woods, high up in the trees. And they make sort of clicking sounds, and they have a very, very high-pitched whistle. I'm afraid I don't have the link for you, but a very, very high-pitched whistle, just almost like not even a whistle, because that implies a kind of a longer sound, but almost like just a tss, tss, that's very, very high-pitched. And the robin, we chose the robin because, of course, as I think, was it Lisa that was pointing out, it's just wonderful to see robins. We associate, the quintessential spring bird, even though they're here all year round. We see them and we think, spring. And we see them on the ground and at our feeders, we see them everywhere. And they may be common, but they're also quite a beautiful bird. And they're also kind of our touchstone for bird sizes. We're always saying, well, is it bigger than a robin, or is the bird smaller than a robin? It's kind of like our standard for bird size in a way for these kinds of birds. Robins, of course, are in the thrush family, and they're about 8 to 11 inches. So a little bigger than this one appears. They are the largest of the North American thrushes. The males and females are similar. The male has a darker head to gray, blackish wings, this beautiful orangey breast. There's a white patch at the base of the belly and really here at the base of the tail, and this broken white eye ring. The female has essentially the same pattern of color, but it's often lighter, so not quite as saturated in color. But you see the sort of that broken eye ring, the gray head, the darker wings, and the white patch under here. And here is a fledgling with the spotted belly. You can see sort of the shape of it. It looks like its parents. The coloration is a little different. And in this photograph, it has what I always think of as the baby bird look, kind of looking up and around and a little confused and waiting for mom or dad to tell them what to do. But you will see them, as you know, they hop along. They have this wonderful, almost rhythmic pattern. They hop along the ground, they stop, look, they hop along the ground, stop, look. And it's wonderful to see a whole group of robins doing that. I always feel like it's a kind of a wonderful choreography that they have. So they forage on the ground, they gather in large flocks in the fall and winter. So now you'll be seeing flocks. And again, you'll see them in those trees, you'll see them on the ground, and then you'll see them in the woods as you walk through the two various loops. I don't know if you remember this, if any of you went to the program on robins, the Hampshire Bird Club program on robins, but we learned that they're very adaptable as a species and will figure out how to feed and forage differently if their environment changes. So it's very interesting. And in European cities, for example, that are really noisy, and in other urban environments, robins will sing at night so they can be heard, so that they don't have to battle the sounds of traffic. They like both deciduous and pine forests, so you'll definitely see them in this Sweet Alice area. And the song is a wonderful trill, sort of about 10 notes, rising and falling. And you'll hear it also in the dawn chorus. They're a lot, I think they're, in the dawn chorus, it seems like they're faster, or there's a slightly different quality, a more urgent quality to the sound. But the other thing that you'll hear, especially if they're in low bushes, is a kind of a chuk, 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 chuk sound and a little brrr. as they fly from one area to another. And the last bird is the eastern bluebird, spectacular color of blue. They are small. They are also thrushes in the thrush family, but they're smaller than robins. They're about 6 to 8 inches. The big head, round belly, short tail, and they have a longish bill, and they have long wings when they fly, sort of in comparison to the short body. The males have this bright blue on the head and on the wings and tail. There's a rusty throat and sort of rusty on the sort of top part of the breast, white down below, and under the tail. And females have a similar pattern, and you'll see lots of variation in color. At least that's been my experience. The females seem a little bit more gray with blue on the wings, but sometimes they may have much more blue. Sometimes they're also, and again, you see the rust color. Sometimes it's a little bit brighter than in this photograph, and the white underneath. Oh, and before we go, you'll often see them perched on wires or fence posts. You know, people put up these wonderful boxes for them, and they'll sit on the top of the box to nest in their cavity nesters. So you'll see them, they perch and sort of examine the field below them. So they're easy to spot in a lot of ways because they'll be still for a while. They'll just sit on the wire on the box and look around. And I've had bluebirds at my feeder for the first time this year. I don't know if other people have seen that. I'm surprised because we don't live near an open field, but you will definitely see these bluebirds in the field again as you walk on the path. And there are some wires, not just the power lines, but other wires, and you'll see them perched and surveying their area. And their song is a sort of a little burbling song, a slightly breathy burbling song. I always think of it as I hear them as if they're trying to whistle through a sort of partially opened mouth. And it's a beautiful little song, and you'll hear them, particularly as they're flying, but you'll hear them. It's a distinctive song. So those are our birds. A lot of 3 big blackbirds, the grackle, the red-winged blackbird, and the cowbird. You'll see them probably all together, or you may, and our beautiful robins and bluebirds. So there we go. Our next session is in April, and I hope you get a chance to get out to Sweet Alice. It's a really lovely area, and see our beautiful birds. Any questions?
Thanks
I was
for
just, sorry. I was just going to add, that's one of like, Sweet Alice is one of my favorite places to go. It's not too far from me too, but we also will park at the Sweet Alice parking spot, and then we'll follow the yellow dots going in towards the Holyoke Range, pick up that, and then you follow along the, once you're in the range, you can follow the Broadbrook Trail along the Broad Bank Trail, whatever. You follow along the river, and then you go up the hill, and then you come back to Trolley Bed, which will then bring you back to that pond area. So you can, if you want a longer hike or a little more challenged with a hill, but then coming down the Trolley Bed is nice and easy on your knees, if you're like me. And it's a great place for birds, pretty, at least 3 seasons. I don't go there much in the winter because of the ice, but it's a great place to hike.
Oh, great. Thank you. I don't know the trail, all the different trails. I've just been on several of them, so that's really helpful. And I again, you can go online to see the trail map before you go, so you have a sense of where you'd like to go. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Brian, as a newcomer, you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you were birding before?
Hi, this is really my first year birding. I live in Ware, and I'd like to go to the Quabbin and Arcadia, and some other areas that I go to.
All right.
Well, there are a lot of field trips coming up for the bird club, which is how I learn so much. some really great leaders. So hopefully you get to go on some of those. Okay.
I just wanted to add one other thing. Right where the pond is in this is where the Kestrel Trust has just moved. That's their new headquarters. So you'll go through their parking lot, et cetera. And one of the things that Leslie mentioned was, I was going to see if we can put that link in the chat box. The Kestrel Trust has all these properties all over the area, the valley, and with shortish trails that I think are great. And just as other places to experience, they have a great set of maps. In fact, they have a sort of a thing, and I was trying to figure out how we could do it, how the Bird Club could do it's like it's not a contest, it is a contest, but go, where did you go? What did you see? Kind of thing.
I don't
Let's see.
have the link, but I'm putting the name of the link in the chat for people.
Did you mean that the maps are printed, that you can get them at their headquarters or online?
Online, you can get them and study all of them and say, well, where do I want to go? Where is this place? How far is this? They're good maps, and I think they're not real long. This is the other thing. It's not like you have to go forever. Like, oh my God, now this is. Okay, I found the link.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of their trails are under 2 miles.
Yeah.
And so you aren't going on a 5 or 6 mile hike to go on their properties a lot of times.
And these two trails the map that I pulled up, both of those I think are under 2 miles.
Yeah.
It's nice
Yeah.
because if you're going to go slowly and look around, then you don't sort of, spend 3 hours on the first half of the trail and then you have to go for another 3 hours to get home. Turn around.
One of the wonderful things about Sweet Alice last summer, it had a Lawrence's warbler, which is one of those,
Blue wing, golden wing.
yeah. And you don't get those that often, but it was there for quite a bit. So,
Yeah, it is a good place for warblers.
yes, it's a great
Seen
place
blue-winged
for work.
warblers there, and
Yeah.
and so as that season comes upon us, another great place to go. Yeah. Okay. Off we go.
And just as a reminder, next week is the Saw-Whet Owl presentation. So if you're interested, make sure you send us that you want to be listening to it.
It's Wednesday, March 16th at 7.
Yeah.
Great.
So just send us an email and we'll send you the link.
And in fact, let me add one more thing. So be on the lookout for Saw-Whet Owls, because the Kestrel Trust did a fundraiser, and one of their people did their master's degree on Saw-Whet Owls or something like that. This is Chris Valenti, and they did a banding, and they got 14 saw-whets, I believe, in and around where you guys are going, where more over on the Kestrel side, on the pond side. So they're here.
Nice.
Little bitty thing, this big.
That will be our bonus target bird.
Try
You
that
saw
one
one
at
this
night.
spring though, right? Leslie,
Yeah.
you saw one.
But in a different place, but little teeny guy just sitting there.
Yeah, I had two of them calling at Sweet Alice
Ah,
when I went there.
Whoa.
Nice.
So
great.
Is that very long ago, Jim?
it's about a month ago now.
And
But
what time of day?
I was there at about 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
So
in very far or
probably about a half a mile up the trail towards the range. So I was on the
Ah.
edge of the woods there.
Okay, I have to do an owl prowl.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you so much.
And
It's
good
great.
birding.
Yeah, you too.
See you soon.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Go Yukon. Now I'm gonna go watch the women's
That's
game.
what's on. There he
No,
is.
the other was a different thing. Now at 8 o'clock it's on.
Now it's even.
Bye-bye.
Bye.